So I slept for a couple hours, woke up, still with the nonsense. Um, they're still hitting my fucking face with the 10,000 needles attack. Not as heavy as they were earlier, but it is escalating as I'm saying that right now, and they're increasing the pain in that. I can put my hand up here, and my hand is feeling electrical current going through it. Now it's more painful. Now it's more painful, and I feel it on the back of my hand, and I no longer feel it in most of the left side of my face. But I feel it like a buzzing all around, but they could be tracking my hand, so it's too hard to tell. They like to make it overly complicated, probably more so than it is. My hand hurts right now. My hand hurts, and my left cheek and gums, the left side of my mouth, does not hurt. Now instantly, it hurts here. That is not my brain imagining something or something neurological, rerouting something, imagining an imaginary beam, remapping it to my hand. That's impossible. It would never do that. That would never be something that would happen. That's illogical. That's irrational. Electrolasers are real things. People in the comments are trolls, and they're probably henchmen of the gangstalkers themselves. And there's people that claim to be gangstalkers, the handlers themselves. And there's people that claim to have symptoms magically, like days after or weeks after I have certain symptoms. Like when I came up to meet with the FBI guy from the Valley to Austin back in April, and then they made it feel, or maybe it was the one back in June. I can't remember which visit it was. Maybe it was the one in June, the end of June. I met with him a couple different, 3 different times. And they were zapping my penis, giving it like an oozing sensation that I had to pee or whatever like that. It wasn't oozing anything; it just gives that sensation. It's very unpleasant. So for the whole like 6 or 7 hour bus ride, and lo and behold, there's a comment in there that talks about, oh, I hated it. They made it feel like I had to pee all the time, and I'm like, is this a real victim that they coordinated that comment with? Or so like not unbeknownst to them that I was suffering that symptom that same day, and I didn't post about that symptom that same day. We posted on an older video magically, like that same day. I think it was the same day or the day after. I think a lot of these comments are from gangstalkers or from trolls that are working on the behalf of the gangstalkers. So that's suspect, but I sent it to the FBI guy, and he didn't do anything about it. He didn't do a goddamn thing. He's a fucking coward. But yeah, they're still hitting me here. Now they're hitting me on my shoulders, and it feels like someone's literally like pushing down on my shoulders. These things can have weight behind them. I assume it's the Electrolaser, unless they have some sort of other technology that can push you. Like I can literally like walk down the hallway. No, that's the mirror, but I'll walk down the hallway right here, and like I'll just be like pushed against it's the walls, or I'll be like knocked off balance. And I don't have any problem with my balance. Or sitting on the toilet, and they'll push me forward, make me lean forward. And that I've seen them push like heavy glasses, heavy thick glasses that had water in them, or Crystal Light B brand, and just knock them right off. Yes, sir. Like I'm not suffering from poltergeist. I'm a scientist. I'm a computer scientist. I wasn't on anything. I wasn't sleep deprived, unless they kept me up all night, a few times, several times. Um, uh, I'm, been a sound mind and a sound body, surprisingly so. But yeah, so they're still hitting me here. Now they're increasing as I'm saying that to you. It hurts like a motherfucker. And they're hitting me like all across my upper back and shoulders. And it feels like I have an instant fatigue in the top of my shoulders and my back. I didn't have that when I woke up. I just started when I started during the middle of this video, literally. I put my hand here, and my whole forearm and hand hurts, and it feels like it's being electrocuted. Literally. It feels like it's being electrocuted, and it hurts. It's starting to hurt more like a motherfucker. And it feels like someone's pushing down on it. Now it's magically back to normal. I don't have any problems with my circulation. I can hold my arm up here. There's no problem with my circulation. There's no problem with that. It doesn't feel like someone's pushing down on there. It literally feels like someone, my shoulders, my upper back has suddenly and instantly become overly fatigued, like I just worked them out. And I'm not going to the gym these days. And It also feels like someone's literally like taking both hands on my shoulders and like pushing down on my shoulders. It feels like someone's pushing down on my shoulders, like like that. I can literally like they feel heavier. It's like gravity's increased like by 10 or by 2. I don't know. I don't know what the I'm not used to things over 1G. Um, and they're also coordinating it with voice to skull, which is a real technology that's been around for over 50 years. Magicians and mentalists use it when they have a participant in the audience, or like with Tyra Banks on America's Got Talent. Think of numbers to use in a magic trick. What they're really doing is they're broadcasting at a subliminal volume level via voice to skull, which uses microwaves, and it's been around for over 50 years. It's a real thing. It takes advantage of the microwave auditory effect in our ears. When they found out that people that were working around microwaves were hearing buzzes and clicks, and then within 10 years after that, over 50 years ago, they perfected it to where they could send reliably. They could send voice, and that's why they call it voice to skull. You can't block it with any normal means. My dad recommended like foil, and I was like, I'm not putting on a fucking tinfoil hat like a cliche crazy person. And like one day I finally did. I was like, well, let's just see. Let's just try to make a cap out of it. And they're saying here, you didn't make it thick enough. And I'm like, I'm not putting on a fucking tinfoil hat. Although I did try it like one day with like foil wrapped on my head, like in secret, like when I was staying with Alan and Tim. I think I told Tim after the fact. Didn't do anything. And it can be transmitted from hundreds of yards away via a drone, which can be operated probably hundreds of yards away, or hundreds of miles away, or thousands of miles away if they have like these drones that are hooked up via like 4G or cellular towers and or satellite and or Wi-Fi. Some sort of central command center. I don't think that's the case. They have centers like that with like big, huge drones, like not the type of drones we think of, although these aren't the type of drones we think of either. Not that but they're not the one. I don't think that. I mean, not to say that they couldn't, and they couldn't Wi-Fi, hook it up that way and remotely configure it if they. And they could probably use, and they probably have VR goggles for it too. Who knows? Maybe they have an Android app for it, or it's probably something proprietary. But it has voice of skull on it, and I assume that it has voice of skull on it so that they can talk down terrorists. Oddly, they act as terrorists, the people that use it, because how often do they get to use these toys? And it's highly manipulative, and if it's turned down to subliminal audio level, it's indistinguishable from thought. But they turn the volume way up on me, and they announce themselves to me. They announce themselves. I'm not a religious person, but to other people, they announce themselves as deities, or angels, or demons, or ghosts, or aliens, or people that are around that person. Like when George Longoria thought he heard me talking behind his back at my house, which I never did, and I never would do. At times when I wasn't even talking to someone. He thought people in the other room were talking about him, and I had sent them to the garage one night, the night that he left in a big fit, and like I sat there in the room in silence, and he was like, oh, haha, over a text message, like he thought there were people in there still talking about them, and I'm like, I didn't respond to him, and I'm like, I'm in here, like, there's no one talking, like I don't understand what he's hearing. It's quiet. Like I didn't hear anyone to begin with, but I sent them to the garage in case they were being too loud. They were between him and me, and I was like, well, I don't hear them, but maybe my closet buffers them, and they're louder to him because they share more of a wall than they do with me. But like you couldn't. I mean, they weren't doing anything. I sent them to the garage, and then I was in the room in silence and just sitting there for a moment, and he thought he heard me talking behind his back and them talking behind his back, and then I hear his voice like a year and a half later after I lose my house, and then I hear my dad's voice and all these other people's voices, and all these other people in my house went crazy. Like all of them I went through temporary bouts of schizophrenia suddenly in their middle ages, or some of them are younger, but I was 41 at the time or 42 at the time, and George was like around 50, give or take. It's like you don't suddenly become schizophrenic at that late of an age without a history of mental illness. I mean, it just rarely happens. And even if it does, it's like all those people in one house. Bernie thought people were talking about, thought I was plotting behind his back. Rudy I think Rudy was a victim too. I think he had some issues with the guy once. that similar to what Bernie and I went through. You know, seems like it was a worse scenario. Um, but I'm like, they follow him to Boston. Like it's unbelievable like how they get stuck on people. And Tom's a victim too, I'm sure, as is Betsy, and maybe even his Tom's ex-wife Tara. I think that's why he went through his nightmare. They took, and I don't think he has fibromyalgia. They joke about Darren at work, how they subliminally suggested him to change his name to Johnny, and Archibald, and they always say how that relates to Garibaldi, like how it's some sort of similar name to Garibaldi from Babylon 5, but I don't see it. Um, I guess it's a leap, but you know, whatever. Now they're going quantum leap, blah 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 blah. It's always sunny in Philadelphia, blah 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 blah. Big data, big kip, you know. Anyway, big history and all that stuff, and they're still doing it. They're still playing songs over and over and over again. Now they're just playing. Now they're playing "We Built the City" again. Now they're playing "I Saw the Sign" again. Now they're playing "All That She Wants" again. Um, Now they're playing that song "Over the Castle Over the Hill." Um, Now they're doing voices from the Masked Singer, like that, or like the Masked Singer, like those chipmunk voices. Blah 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 blah. And now they're still playing the Castle Over the Hill song. Now they're playing "I Saw the Sign" again. Um, Now they're playing "All That She Wants," or maybe they didn't do "I Saw the Sign." Maybe it was just "All That She Wants." But now they're playing "I Saw the Sign." Now they're playing "All That She Wants." Like literally, as I'm telling that to you, they're playing those clips of the songs. And they're just playing clips of them over and over and over again. Now they're playing "We Built the City" again. Um, we built this city on rock and roll, dun 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 dun, and they're like, you're breaking it up in clips. It's like it's not the same thing as when you get a song stuck in your head. It's literally I can hear the song as if someone's playing it like in the other room, or on a distant radio with the volume turned down, you know, or on a radio like with the volume turned down, like somewhere like nearby, maybe outside or something like that. Um, and even at a low volume, even if they turn the volume down pretty low, it's like you can still hear it, even if you have like a TV turned on all the way up. You know, even if you're listening to music with headphones on, you, it still goes into your brain because the voice is skull. It's like overpowers it. I mean, you hear both at the same time. It's like it's unreal. It's inhumane. It's unconscionable. It's heinous, and they're still doing it. And it's like I'm waking up, and my back. Now they're increasing the pain to my back. My back hurts like a motherfucker. Now my hand hurts and my forearm hurts. It's because there's electrical current through it, and my back didn't hurt. I mean, some of it did, but mostly it's relief from the pain. And it feels a force pushing against my hand. Now it feels like someone's like just into like the middle of my back, one long sustained like painful punch. Now they're back, not that they ever stopped, but now they've increased the pain here. So while I'm still talking, I'm still feeling it. But I can't like walk around all the day, every single day, going like, get the fuck off me. Like I did that early on, and I still like lose my temper with them, or with Dad, like, because I don't know, like, because like he said something to me over a text message or to my landlord in the valley almost 2 months ago, or around 2 months ago. He said the Kip, I was at a funeral, and like Kip, you know, sent me like all these messages, and he said shit to your timeline, and he put that in quotes, and that's a buzz phrase between us, because it's like I keep telling them like, you're gonna get caught eventually, maybe not with me, maybe you'll fuck me over, get me fucked over like for life, or get me killed, or to hurt myself, you know, because it's like eventually like this can't sustain, and they're escalating. It's like I can't imagine, like I've already been going through it for several years, over 3 years blatantly, with them announcing themselves and zapping me knowingly, and then like like they're mentioning things that happened before that were weird at my house, and it's like, so they were at my they went. That was like, that's why so and so went crazy. That's why George went crazy. That's why Ali went crazy. That's why Mikey went crazy. That's why all these other people started going crazy in my house. And I'm like, even with Rudy, with cutting the whiskers off of my cat one time, and he had short whiskers, and I was like, Rudy, did you cut my cat's whiskers now in the store? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, I don't know why. They can get you focused on something, and they can make you interested in something and doing something that's nonsense. One time I was like playing around with the clipper guards with a clipper for like 2 or 3 or 4 hours. And I wasn't on anything. They were just like OCD. They can make you OCD about something. They can make you have attention deficit disorder like a motherfucker. Like I've never noticed, like my dad or my sister or Tom, especially when I worked with him, I never noticed him having attention deficit disorder problems. I don't know if he had them prior in his life, but I suspect that that was probably something that they created and that he never had it before. I mean, maybe he did and I don't know it, but it's like now it's like when I'm talking to my sister or my dad about this, it's like they're in their heads, and it's like they're constantly like they make them mad or angry or obstinate about hearing any other thing, or they'll bring up something, and I don't want to talk about this because I know it's going to spark an argument because it gets into frustration. You know, my sister's like, you got to try something different, or you got to like get a strategy. And I'm like, without pursuing this, like I don't know their strategy. I was like, you know, I can keep reaching out to law enforcement agencies and keep pressuring dad to do an investigation, which he should not have any problem in doing. And in retrospect, if he looks back on it, he should be like, oh yeah, like why was I so hung up on 2 contacts versus 1? And why didn't I tell Kip about that immediately instead of not? Because Kip did tell me, like, hire them, and maybe you don't tell me that you hired them, like I happen to meet with them. But if you can, try to make half of this investigation covert and try to, bring them, with special camera equipment so you can, like, capture, see if you can see the beams or whatever, or measure them somehow, or come out with drones and see if you can see people flying drones around there, like they were spotted in my neighborhood before I left, a couple years before I left. And as drones were spotted spying on people in that neighborhood after I left. And I saw drones at my house before I left too. But it's like but he's hung up on that, and he's like, he never thinks in retrospect. Oh, I never told Kip I wasn't doing that, and I never told Kip give me a second contact. Like I can't, like you couldn't Google it his fucking self. And it's like, why is he so hung up on that? And then he said he gave me a $5,000 budget. I'm like, okay. Well, this is what I want to do, and then like it feels like he took it back. Like I don't even know if the offer still applies. And now I hear from Robin there's other conditions on it. Like you have to be clean, and I'm like, I am clean. Like what the fuck are you talking about? I've always been sober and sane. It's like whatever. But it's like what's requirements like? So like people don't get justice. What if I was an addict using every single day, which is the case? I'm like, that means I don't get justice on my cases. Like it means like no one like that just doesn't make any sense. That's an ignorant comment, and that wasn't part of our requirements anyway, and it wasn't something that's valid anyway. It's just a sense, But he still doesn't hire one, and it's like, and he's so obstinate about it. He's like, no. It's like blah 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 blah, and he's still hung up on the 2 contacts versus 1. I was like, Austin doesn't have a lot of private investigators, Dad. There's another comment on my YouTube thing about how there's not a lot of private investigators in Austin. I think that was a gang stalker, or a henchman of the gang stalkers. I think and now they're blatantly putting it out there on there. I don't know if those people really are those people, or if they're just trolls that like go out and they try to discredit, gang stalking pages, and they just have fun doing that. Not maybe they're being gang stalked too, and maybe they're being paid for it, or maybe they're the gang stalkers themselves or henchmen for them, and that's what they do. But a lot of the comments are really suspect. I mean, some of them are, sound kind of crazy, like, oh, you have implants or this, and I'm like, I get it if those are legitimate people. I get why they think that, because these people can subliminally, in your head, and with the projections, and with this technology, they can literally manipulate every single one of your 5 senses, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that at all. So it's like you have to be careful about it. And if my dad were to look at my gang stalking document, and especially at the state of it now, like he should be blown away at the incredible fairness of it when it's written by the victim. I don't sit there and point fingers at every single person. I list suspects, and I'm like, but then I will also point out, like, I don't know that they were involved, because technically this is how they manipulate things, and that person may or may not have had any clue about them. It doesn't mean they behaved well or didn't do anything illegally, or didn't do anything unethically, or didn't make a really bad, poor decision, but it doesn't mean they weren't manipulated by these people. And it doesn't, and it doesn't mean that they were in on it for most of them. However, those 2 ladies at Red River Family Practice, it's like I was assaulted, I was lied to and assaulted, and my medical information was released shortly prior to my visit with them, with these people. You must be schizophrenic. How would we know that information? How would we get that information from visits like from 10 or 12 years ago to Red River Family Practice? And then like a few days or weeks later, like that shit happens when I'm like lied to and assaulted. When she was like, oh, I didn't get any blood. And I looked down, and she did take blood for labs. I'm like, oh, maybe she said she didn't get enough and she lost the vein. Like, no one ever has a problem getting a vein on me in the first try, and she didn't either. And she took blood, and I thought, okay, maybe she needs to get another vial of blood, and she lost the vein, but she didn't seem to have any problems. And then another lady comes in with a needle that's a ridiculously sized needle, an inappropriately sized and type of needle that you wouldn't use for drawing blood. I mean, you could, but you wouldn't. It's not the same type that they use nowadays. It's an old school type of needle, and just stabs me like, and then threw it in the needle dispensary and then smiled at me like, and then like all I needed was a band-aid, or I didn't even need a band-aid anymore because I caught very fast, and it's like I didn't even need a band-aid for this arm. And then on this arm, it's like I don't even know if there was any, I don't even know if a drop of blood came to the surface. She stabbed me so quickly and didn't even hit a vein, um, and I wasn't even trying to. She just was like, and then threw it away that quickly. And then they wrapped me like in loose, sloppy medical tape. I'm like, you would never do that. You know, the next time I had to give, have my blood taken there, a very nice lady, who I think I've seen her there before, she did it. She was very nice. All she did was put like a little piece of gauze and a band-aid, a normal band-aid on it. And I really didn't even need that, but they just do that as a precaution, you know? Like by the time I'm leaving the building, like, you know, minutes later, I'm taking it off and throwing it in the trash can, unless I forget about it and leave it on. It's like they wrap me in excessive sloppy medical tape, and like Dad's like, well, maybe they took blood from the second draw. It's like, no, Dad, read the document, look at the video. It's very concise and consistent. I even have a separate document just for that incident. You know, if you don't want to find it in the document, which it's you know cataloged in there, and there's bookmarks for it. And it's like, it happened exactly the way I said it. I wasn't on anything. I wasn't sleep deprived. I'd only been up for a couple hours, I think. It was on a Saturday. You know, they were fucking with me, but like, you know, not like they are now. But I'm like, you think I'm in some constant delusional, like 24/7, like state of psychosis? Like I've never been in that state for 1 second. And these things happen, and like, but then they make you look crazy, and then get these people to do these things, or get you making you like calling out coincidences and using like throwing their voice around with this voice of skull shit, and making you think that like people are in on it, and then also manipulating them, getting buzzwords dropped into the conversation, since voice of skull can affect the words that come out of your mouth, as I've demonstrated on this channel before. And it's like all these people that help them. It's like, and then they go like, oh, you should kill them, or you should go after them, you should go retaliate, you should go hold up Red River Family Practice hostage, you should go and confront them, and hold the practice hostage. It's like, you should kill everyone there. But I'm like, no, I shouldn't. Absolutely not. Do these people know that? Like, these people that help you know that you throw them under the bus like immediately afterwards, which would be like something understandable for someone wronged anyway, just even on one incident. If they're assaulted, you know, it would be understandable for someone to want to go down and confront them anyway, which could lead to an escalation and frustration if the people like clammed up, you know. But it's like, I told that to APD, I'm like, I'm sure we can both agree you are the more appropriate resource to handle this, the more experienced, the more likely to be successful in, you know, in obtaining a confession, and you're the local law enforcement anyway. It doesn't matter if I get a confession, you know. It's like, you know, like I need you guys there. And it's like I'm sure we both can agree that also, you know, we want to avoid, you know, avenues of like self-help. We don't want, you know, the victim to resorting to self-help. We certainly don't want to, you know, put the victim in a place where they feel like they need to resort to self-help, right? And I left that on, you know, all the way up to Christine Chomo, maybe even Art Fortune, Commander Art Fortune, Lieutenant Christine Chomo, and Lieutenant Art Fortune, as well as the detectives below them and on the other cases, and Sergeant Mike Cowden, who like hung up on me, and on one of the phone calls, like he literally picked up the phone and hung it up, which the FBI guy did to me as well, and I also got a 550 error message back from him on an email message, brief, like on 2 or 3 email messages, surprisingly, and that's one that I got back on Officer McLeod when I spelled his name wrong a couple of times. So I thought that was weird, and then just suddenly like that problem came, you know, I was like, that's too coincidental, but like I can't think too much of it, but you know, oh well, it's like is it a hint that the FBI is giving me, like they're like, ooh, it's a hint, that means like he's onto us, and like he's letting you know that he's aware of this thing that you didn't even really document, but like it's not one of the big things you point out because it was just a misspelling of the guy's email address, you know. And And it wasn't when when I was talking to the FBI, when got bounced backs from the FBI guy, like, those few times. For that brief, it was over a weekend, I think, that it happened on like 3 emails, like maybe 4. Um, and then suddenly, like, the problem went away. I was like, did he leave the FBI? And then I was like, no, he's still. I mean, these other ones aren't bouncing. And like, then I talked to him afterwards. I even met with him after that. After he failed to fulfill his promises to me, his obligations to me, his commitments to me, um, lying to me and being a coward, um, and just letting me suffer, and just like letting me suffer without providing any help, and not giving a shit about my well-being or my dog's well-being. And then I met them again the second time, and then there was another guy somewhere with him, and the guy, he never gave me the guy's name afterwards. I emailed him. I was like, what was that guy's name, so I can document that I met with him and you? And he never gave that to me. And the guy was like, you really need a medical examiner. I'm like, okay, I've already explained to you, like, a computer scientist, not that it should matter, but like, I'm a smart person, and like, you already told me that you think I'm a smart person, although I don't know if you were patronizing me or not when you said it in the way that he talks. The other guy talked in a weird way that sounded condescending and patronizing, but he might have just been overly polite. Um, but I was like, again, like, I considered schizophrenia, so I'm not in denial when I first started hearing these voices. Um, but then I was like, then they started telling me things that weren't in my brain for me to know, or to even suspect as a paranoid, delusional, schizophrenic thought. Like, I couldn't have known the guy in 3-1 had my stolen phone or hacked my Google account. He wasn't the guy that stole my phone. The guy that stole my phone was the guy that didn't stay at the hotel, and I have no idea how he knew the other guy. And he actually returned to me a different phone, but it was a Note 7, and it wasn't my phone. It was the same model and the same colors as my phone, but cracked in different places. And and after I returned it in the Note 7 recall, I was like, they didn't ask any questions anyway, so I got an S7 returned. Um, I did a find your phone tool, and I've got that documented in my document and online. It's like, there's my phone, right around 301, right inside it or right outside it, or in the room above. Um, and then the guy's email address that was staying in that room, or that link, or at least linked to Facebook, and one Google Plus profile that had pictures that appeared to be him, and to document him, and so it probably was him, but technically they could have, like, used his email address and spoofed, like, but it's like, that's really complicated, but still it would be a lead to follow up on. And there were other things that happened with him too, that afterwards, that, like, they did little Simon Says things with him when they told me that they were going to have him do something, and then, like, he did. But I didn't put too much faith in that, because it's like, that doesn't mean anything. But that I was like, okay, how did that guy know that guy? Like, how did they even, like, hook up? I don't understand that. Like, how did they touch base with each other? And why is it so important to get my phone? And he returned to me another phone that I think was a store model phone that he returned to me. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. But like, why was it so important to get my phone? Why didn't he just keep the phone that he stole? Like, I don't understand that. Like, why didn't he just do that instead of stealing my phone for 4 days, or keeping my phone for 4 days to begin with? Doesn't make any sense.